Cool. So let's see. Let's see what we can do for today. So Contact is the sampler. I really don't want to talk about that yet. Massive was not working. It actually crashed every time I opened it this morning, but Massive X was working. So we can look into that real quick. Massive X is brand new. It's the updated version. See, we're all still in demo mode. I guess I'll use demo mode for now, but I won't be able to save anything. Okay, actually, let me just try the first Massive first and see if it's working now, because I really don't want to teach you Massive X before the original Massive. Oh, all right, great. Okay, demo. All right, so we're in the demo mode. Okay, so for those of you who aren't familiar with Massive or never heard of it before, it's an iconic modern digital synthesizer, okay? It is Native Instruments, and this is basically the sound of dubstep. And not the original good dubstep, you know, the crappy, like, bro step movement that, like, swept the nation from, like, 2010 to 2012, right? Okay, almost all of that dubstep wobble bass stuff was made using this instrument. So it is a wavetable synthesizer. Okay, anyone know what that means? A wavetable synthesizer? Anyone? Okay, so what it means is you can literally stack different waveforms on top of each other and use several at the same time, hence the table, right? You're supposed to be able to stack the waveforms, okay? So general run through, you have 3 oscillators over here on the left, and you have a modulation oscillator down here, and a noise generator, okay? This is going to allow you to generate like white noise and stuff. So no preset, that's what you want. If you can't find it, you can, where's the INIT? Ah, it'll just open as the default when you open it up. So come on, I don't want this. Untype. Okay. Sorry, is that loud, Chris? I'm sorry. Okay. So this is the bass tone. If you turn off the oscillators, you can turn up the noise generator. Okay. Okay. You have white noise. You have pink noise, brown noise. We're gonna go through all this stuff and differentiate between them. Okay, I do have, I think, in the lecture notes, a diagram of the signal flow. So all this stuff here is information about Sculpture, like detailed information, exactly what the controls do, the Sculpture signal flow, and all this stuff that I painstakingly compiled for you guys. Okay, so if you scroll down here, you have filter types. You should know that already. And then we get to Massive down here. Okay. So if you scroll down, here is okay. Here's the signal flow. If you want to really get into it, the sound is generated by the oscillators, and then it passes to the filters, and then it goes to the inserts, right? And then it goes to the effect slots and out to the amp. Okay. So that's that, okay? Massive does have 85 different waveforms, okay? Which is a lot. So basically how this works, okay? First you have to turn on the oscillator by turning on the power button. Is blue, okay? Now, when you choose a waveform, you'll see that right here it says square-saw, okay? So how this works is, this is the wavetable position knob, right? If I turn it all the way to the left, it's just a square wave. If I turn it all the way to the right, it's just a sawtooth wave, okay? But in the middle, it's both, and that's the wavetable aspect, okay? You have 2 waveforms being generated at the same time. Intensity and amp is just volume, okay? And then you have a few options up here. Spectrum is the normal, okay? Formant, as I said before, adds overtones and harmonics. It's a little intense. And then this will bend up, bend down, and then up. Okay, so a few different timbre options, okay? And then you have things like pitch, okay? A little trick in Massive is if you hold down Option, you can move the pitch up and down in octaves. Okay, so 12, 24, 36. That's very convenient to know. Okay, so we have a square wave. Let's do, and here are your waveforms. Okay, the ones that have two operate on the wavetable thing. So all the way to the left, it's one waveform. All the way to the right, it's another. So I want to try to make a kind of a bass sound. So I'm going to put a sine wave on the very bottom. Okay, so all the way to the left, that's a pure sine wave, and I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to bring it down an octave. Okay, and now I'm going to turn on oscillator 2, and I'm going to select a square wave. So when you open Massive, oscillator 1 already has the amp knob turned up. Oscillator 2, you have to turn it up. So in case you were wondering, okay? So now you hear I have a sine wave being generated from oscillator 1 and a square wave being generated from oscillator 2, but it's an octave higher, okay? I can move these up and down as I want. If I had this in the middle, it would be a square and sawtooth wave. So a little more grit, okay? And then oscillator 3, again, you have to turn up the amp or you won't hear it. And let's make this a sawtooth something. Let's do, we'll do saw 1. So for the saw, I have to turn it all the way to the right. And maybe I can make this an octave higher. Okay, so I have 3 different octaves going on. Okay, so already it actually sounds pretty good right off the bat. Okay, all right. So before we get crazy with this, because this is Massive is a deep rabbit hole. Okay, I could probably write a course on just Massive and never run out of lecture material. Okay, there's a lot you can do with it. So we're just going to start from scratch. We're going to spend a few weeks working with it. So if it's intimidating at first, don't sweat it. Okay. But the first thing we need to talk about is the ADSR, because the ADSR in Massive is very special and unique. Okay, that's envelope 4. Okay, if you click on envelope 4, you have your ADSR. You can see that envelope 4 is routed to the amp, so that's what this little blue 4 is. That's why envelope 4 is your main ADSR. Okay. If you care about dynamics, you want to turn up the velocity knob. That'll allow you to play quietly. Okay? If it's all the way down, it's always going to be the same volume. Okay? Alright, and the thing I love about this ADSR is as you change the parameters, you actually have a visual representation of the synthesis. Okay? So as I move this, the attack, right? I can also change the level of the attack. Okay? The decay, right, is how long the attack takes to go to the sustain, right? And you can also adjust the level of this. Very cool. Okay? And then this is the sustain section. That's very involved. So let's just talk about release. Release is how long the sound lasts after you let go of the key. So if I turn this all the way up, let go, it's going to kind of gradually fade out. Okay? Okay, and then the sustain section. This is really what makes Massive a special instrument. Okay, so this is not like any other sustain section you will ever see. Okay, what we want to do is turn the loop on. Okay, there's different kinds. We can adjust the level, right? And now we have these different morph types. So we can choose to have this curved, right? So when the signal goes through here and gets to this part, it'll be like, right? You hear it? Okay? We can choose a different one and have them both. Where's the cool one? There's a couple of really cool ones. No. I think extreme? No. What's the cool one? Steps. Trying to find the good one. There's a couple that are really cool. Sorry, I'm trying to find like there we go. Okay, so you can kind of, sorry. You can kind of change the shape of the sustain, which I think is super cool. You hear? You hear the difference? You hear it going through? Very cool stuff. This is the one I was looking for. So it's literally following this shape, okay? We can make this a little quieter. We can go negative with it too. So now it's following this shape, okay? Very cool stuff. And you can make this short if you want. Okay, so let's turn this on. It's so cool. Alright, fun stuff. Very cool. Okay, so this is an ADSR section that you will not find in any other instrument. It's very, very cool. Okay, okay, so let's add some white noise. We have to turn the color up. Okay, so now you see we have noise being generated at the same time. So we have 4 oscillators running. I mean, the noise generator is technically not an oscillator, but okay, but we can add sound and motion to the sound. Very cool stuff. Huh. Okay, cool. All right, now we have to talk about the filters. Okay, so Massive has 2 filters that run in either serial or parallel mode. Basically, you see this is the slider for up at the top is serial mode, at the bottom is parallel mode. What this means is that in serial mode, the signals will be generated here, and then they'll pass through filter 1 and come out of filter 1, and then go into filter 2 and out of filter 2 and on to everything else. In parallel mode, the signals are generated here, and they pass through both filters at the same time. Very cool. I think there is, yes. Okay, here's the difference between parallel and serial routing for the filters. Okay, so you can see you have a lot of different options as far as timbres. Okay, let's do serial for now, and we'll choose a filter. Let's do a basic low pass, and we have to turn the cutoff up. And we have resonance if we want some overtones, right? NA means not applicable, so a lot of these filter presets, the bottom knob is useless, okay? All right, and now we have this little jittery thing here, but I'm going to get rid of this because I want to add modulation. Okay, so here's my sound. Let me turn this down a little bit. Okay, so if you see over here, there are 2 LFOs built into Massive, right? And really the cool thing about Massive is its modulation capabilities, okay? So we can have the LFO modulate anything we want. If you see that to the right of all the envelopes and LFOs, there are little crosshairs, okay? If you click on a crosshair, so I'm going to go LFO 5, I'm going to drag it to the filter cutoff, and now I see a 5 up here. And now if I click on the 5 and drag down, you'll see a green line appear. And basically what that's going to do is the oscillator is going to oscillate this knob back and forth, just like in Sculpture. Okay, so this is the shape of the oscillation. Here's the rate. Okay, very cool stuff. Again, you can sync it to the metronome if you want quarter notes, right? If I turn on my metronome, right, we could do eighth notes. Okay, and this is basically how dubstep is made. Okay, they just automate this knob. Right, okay, that's really basically what wobble bass is all about right there. Okay, but you can use it very creatively. Again, all this stuff can be automated. Okay, and this section will allow you to adjust the start point. It's called phase, right? Where the where the oscillation starts. Okay, very cool. So you have control over the fade. You can also select square wave. Okay, where's my... Okay, sawtooth wave, triangle wave. And again, you can adjust the phase as you want. All right, very cool. We can also have this, if we drag the crosshairs, let's have it oscillate the color on our white noise. So now you'll see when I drag down, okay, if I turn off all the oscillators so that just the noise generator is running, you can see that the oscillator is basically turning this knob back and forth on its own. And I can control that with the oscillator. I can also use this to modulate the amp knob. Right? So in addition to color, it's also modulating the volume. All right. If we turn this back on. All right. Really cool. Okay. That's the LF. Anyone have any questions to this point? I know I'm kind of saying a lot of stuff. Let's go to parallel mode and turn on the second filter. These are all, so you have your basic low pass, high pass. The 4 and 2 are decibels per octave. Anyone know what that is? Anyone? Decibels per octave? It basically refers to the shape of the filter cutoff. Okay, so if I have a low pass filter, right, and the cutoff is shaped like this, okay, that's I think 48 decibels per octave, right? So it's not very aggressive, but I can change the decibels per octave to be like a straight down cutoff, which is a lot more aggressive. Okay, so that it basically just controls the shape of the filter cutoff. Guys, please try to limit your bathroom breaks to emergencies only. Okay, everyone should be able to go 2 hours without going to the bathroom, right? Okay. So you have your basic low pass 4, low pass 2. That's the difference. They have a different shape to the cutoff. Okay, so one is more aggressive, another one is kind of smooth. All right, and then you have your band pass, kind of standard stuff. But down here you have scream, which is always fun to play with. Let me turn this modulation off and turn off filter 1. Oh, turn these off too. I'll just turn the filter off. Okay, so. So that's the scream filter. Okay? And again, all of this stuff can be modulated too if you drag the crosshairs and then click and drag. Okay, so now the LFO is modulating just this scream knob. Okay? You have Daft, which is a really, really cool one. It's named after Daft Punk, but it's more modeled after the Korg. Shit. What's that semi-modular synthesizer that Daft Punk uses all the time? The Korg semi-modular, I think it's the one, this guy, the MS-20. Okay, so this, really? Well, if you can see it, maybe I can zoom in. Okay, this guy, it's a semi-modular synthesizer. Daft Punk uses it all the time, and the filter is based off the filter on that synthesizer. That's why it's called Daft. Okay, cool. So, yeah. All right, so you have all different kinds. You have comb, which is a comb filter. Okay, so that's a fun thing to modulate this guy here. Okay, lots of fun to play around with. And then if you go back to your LFO, okay, so you can hear that there's motion in the sound, like there's movement. It's not just a static tone, and that's really, you know, one of the things you should strive for. Okay, don't make your sounds boring. have them kind of evolve and move, you know? You want to have a little motion in your sound, right? Turn back on the noise generator. Huh. NBC. Right? Okay. Alright, so already we have some cool sounds happening. And as you can see, the sound cutoff is the sound quality is very good on this instrument. Alright, turn filter 1 back on. Now we have 2 filters going, and the signal is going to go through both filters at the same time. And maybe I can modulate this as well. Okay, so there's motion, right? It's not just a boring tone that never changes. Okay, and again, if you want to automate this rate knob, you can really get some cool sounds. Right? Okay. So I really haven't done much to this sound, but it already sounds pretty cool. Okay. You have 2 insert slots down here, and remember, this is just a crash course right now. I'm not going to talk about the performer or the stepper today, but the stepper is basically a pattern sequencer, which will allow you to program arpeggios and stuff. The performer is a totally different beast, and we'll do that next lecture. But okay, so you can see we already have some cool sounds going on. And you have 2 insert slots down here. They're basically additional effects. So one that I love is the Bit Crusher. That's just going to give you a little grainy grittiness to your sound. You have to obviously turn it up. There's a dry wet knob. And then the amount of crush. Okay? So it's just going to give it a little grit, right? And then you have things like, I don't know, a parabolic shaper. That's always fun, right? All right, so all kinds of ways to shape and hone your sounds, okay? Really, this is, again, just like a crash course. Oh, you can also feed back the signal into itself. You have a feedback section down here. This you have to be careful with, but I'll turn it up slowly. Okay, so you get a... Oh, yeah. All right, so really, really cool, cool sounds that you can generate with this. Okay, any questions? I know I just vomited out a lot of information, so but that's exactly why I record the lectures. Okay, all right. So I forgot. I'm sorry. One more thing. 2 effect slots over here. Killing me, Nate. What's up?
Did the printer go in your desktop room? I meant that here. Sorry.
No.
Not still out there?
Nope. Okay. Okay. Let's see. In the effect slots, you have your basics. You have reverb. I wouldn't recommend using the built-in reverb because you only have 2 effect slots here. So I would rather use. I like chorus. Anyone know what a chorus effect does? Can anyone tell me? No? Chorus? More so the pitch, right? So basically what it does is it takes a sound and it puts it slightly out of tune. It's called chorus because it's something that occurs naturally in choirs, right? When you have a huge choir with like 100 or more people, the people all the way on the left side, they can't really hear the people all the way on the right side. So the left and right sides are slightly out of tune, and that's called a chorusing effect, and that's what this is trying to emulate. Okay, so let's hear what that sounds like. You hear it? Okay, so it just basically puts it a little bit out of tune. You hear it? Here's without. Okay, and now with. All right. So that's always fun. And the other effect that I love that's in Massive that you won't find in any other instrument is called the Dimension Expander. What that's going to do is going to allow you to add a sense of depth Okay, very, very useful. Okay, so here we go. You have to obviously turn the wet knob up. And I'm clipping over here, so I'm going to turn down my main volume over here. Okay, so now it has a kind of a third dimension to it, right? Sorry, Chris. You're a trooper, man. All right, I can adjust the size of the room. Huge room. Here's without the dimension expansion. And now with. Okay, so it does give you a little bit of extra depth there. I especially like it for bass sounds, but I love a chorus effect and the dimension expansion together. Really good. Okay, and now we have EQ. This is just a basic low shelf, low high shelf. Okay, I wouldn't even bother with this. Again, I would rather just use the EQ built into the mixer in Logic or any other EQ really. But all right, that's a crash course in the instrument. So make sure you come to the labs and start experimenting with Sculpture and Massive. Save your work. So you know your goal is to eventually use these sounds that you make in your first sound design project. Okay. The smaller project, the smaller sound design project, it's called Last Swim. It's basically a 1-minute clip from an independent film, and we're going to use the noise generator in Massive to emulate the sound of waves crashing on the beach and wind blowing and really cool stuff. So we'll get into that. We'll get into that all next week, and hopefully all these instruments will be good to go by then. But really cool stuff. A lot you can do. We'll also talk about the Performer and the Stepper, which the Performer is hands down my favorite thing about Massive. So we'll get into that next week. But for now, just try to familiarize yourself with like the basic functions of the instrument, and we'll take it from there. All right. Any questions? Yes.
Is 8 to 10 the only lab time there is?
No.
Other than the open lab?
Yes. Yeah, there are open labs. You must have. Did you come in late? I posted an announcement about the open lab hours. Oh, that's the wrong class. Sorry. Okay. There are open lab hours every day of the week. All right. And if they change, I will certainly post the updated times. Okay. But you know, have fun experimenting with these instruments. They're really fun. If you want to check out a few presets, I recommend it. You can learn a lot by studying presets. Remember, every preset started out from a default setting, so it's basically an original sound that someone just saved. Okay, that's what a preset is. So you can learn a lot that way, and not just about instruments, but about devices like compression and EQ and anything else really. Studying presets is definitely not a waste of time. Okay. All right. Sound good? Anyone? Any other questions? All right. Cool. Stop my video.